just imagine, we have, as menstruators, such a delicate balance of hormones that is required for us to have optimal menstrual health and well-being. And the thing that we need to use every single month, which is these pads and tampons and other period products, could actually be causing the problem with our period health. If you have period problems like I had period problems, then this video is for you. I've had period problems since the day my period started. Very heavy, very painful periods, just a nightmare in general. And so if you are struggling with your period, whether that be having heavy periods, painful periods, erratic periods, if your period's gone missing, if you've been diagnosed with endometriosis, PCOS, or any other hormone-related issue, these are some of the things that I stopped using when I started my hormone healing journey. Now, long story short, I had a really bad period to begin with. I went on hormonal birth control for many years and then got an IUD placed, which is an intrauterine device. Had a horrible reaction and then vowed that I would rather learn about my body and how to manage my hormones naturally than relying on hormonal birth control to erase my period problems or just pretend like they're not there. So I removed the IUD, or I had it removed, and then I started this journey. And it's been an interesting ride so far. And what I can tell you is that along this journey, there have been things that have worked really well for me and things that haven't worked really well for me. But certainly when it comes to the things that I stopped using, this is a big part of how I've been trying to balance my hormones naturally and to eliminate my period problems as far as I have been able to do within my control. Granted, there's a lot of things that may not be in your control. For example, if you have fibroids that need to be removed, or if you have endometriosis that's plaguing you in your pelvis and you need to have surgery for that, that's out of your control. But when it comes to making sure that your hormones are given their best shot to be in balance and work in harmony with each other, when it comes to controlling things like your gut health and how you nourish your body, how you move your body, and specifically what you remove from your lifestyle in order to make sure that you're providing the best chance for your body to function optimally, there is a lot that we can actually take into our own hands. And so I posted this list on my TikTok. If you don't follow me, then you're welcome to do so, a few months ago. And one of the things that came back, one of the comments was, "This is a lot of things. Did you do all these things at the same time?" And the answer is no, it was a slow and steady journey. And I'm by no means saying that you need to do all of these things like starting right now from today. You can take it one step at a time, see what's the most doable for you right now. But definitely I can say that implementing these changes has made my hormone health that much easier to have a hold over. And so if you're looking for things, or if maybe even these things you've never considered that they could actually be harming your hormone health, I'm here to just shed a little bit of light on some of the things you may be just taking for granted, that you may not even be aware of, that could actually be robbing you of vibrant hormonal health and a normal happy period. Then stay tuned and let me know if you've tried any of these things and what's the one thing that you think is the most doable for you in this list. Let's go. Okay, so the first thing I stopped using when I started my hormone healing journey was hormonal birth control. Like I said, the IUD was the thing that kind of started me on this road. And before using the intrauterine device, I had used hormonal birth control pills for probably over a decade. And for those of you who are on hormonal birth control, this is by no means judging you for that. And I'm not saying that like immediately you should stop your hormonal birth control. People go on birth control for different reasons. I went on birth control because I had such a horrendous period. And so ultimately it really depends on what you are on birth control for. But I definitely believe in having a good, clear understanding about what hormonal birth control could be doing to your body, and then making an informed decision about whether you still want to be on hormonal birth control or not. And so this was the question that I came across, which was that I was taking hormonal birth control because I had a really heavy, really painful period, and it was a nightmare to have my period each and every month. And so I basically just wanted to have no period at all. And that's the reason why I got the intrauterine device after being on hormonal birth control pills for a long time. But ultimately, the problem or the issue with hormonal birth control, if you are taking birth control for period problems is that hormonal birth control will simply mask your period symptoms. It's not actually going to heal anything. It's not going to cure anything. It's not going to take any of your problems away. It's just going to, those synthetic hormones that are in the hormonal birth control pills or in the IUD or the patch or the implanon that you insert in your arm, all those synthetic hormones are basically just going to suppress and switch off your own hormonal variation and cycle. And because of that, it's going to actually take over your period or your menstrual cycle and pump your body with synthetic hormones that simulate a period. So that bleeding that you may have when you are taking hormonal birth control pills is not a real period. It's known as a withdrawal bleed. And that's because when you are taking the placebo pills in the pack, you're actually not taking any hormones. And the fact that your body's not getting any of those synthetic hormones pumped into it at that time, and the fact that your own body's menstrual cycle is switched off, your body bleeds as a result of not having any of those hormones. And so it's fake, it's synthetic, okay? And so for some people, that's fine. And they know the risks involved with being on hormonal birth control and they still opt to do that. But ultimately, if you have period problems, then taking hormonal birth control may actually be making the situation worse, because not only are you not addressing the underlying reason why you have the period problems to begin with, but suppressing your own body's hormonal cycle is actually going to just perpetuate the problem. And so when you stop hormonal birth control, in all likelihood, you are not going to have a normal period if you didn't have one before you started birth control. In fact, your period problems may actually get worse after stopping birth control. And so for me, when I started my hormone healing journey and when I made the decision that I was going to try and get to the root cause of my problems and address that instead of taking hormonal birth control to hide and cover up my period problems, that started me on the journey of really beginning to understand my body and why I was having issues in the first place. And so that's the first thing that I stopped using, was hormonal birth control. Interestingly, hormonal birth control, aside from suppressing your menstrual cycle, it can deplete your body of many vital nutrients that when you stop hormonal birth control, you can actually struggle to get your period back in some instances. So if you'd like me to share some content, if you're trying to get off hormonal birth control and you're looking for, what you should be doing in order to do that and what you should be supplementing with in order to make that journey easier, let me know in the comments. The next thing that I stopped using when I started my hormone healing journey was conventional deodorant. And so this one was one of the things that I just kind of stumbled upon when I started learning about endocrine disrupting chemicals. Big fancy word, basically means chemicals that are commonly found in our environment and the products that we may be using that could be disrupting our hormones and robbing us of hormonal health and a normal, happy period. And one of those products that we use every day is deodorants or antiperspirants. And so I stopped using conventional deodorants and antiperspirants for a variety of reasons, but mainly because of the endocrine disrupting chemicals that are usually found in these conventional deodorants. And in fact, what they do is they pretend or mimic our own body's hormones and then sometimes block the function of our own body's hormones as well. And because we apply deodorant to a very sensitive part of our bodies every day, sometimes more than once a day, that dose can progressively, add up and stack up over time. And so I started making my own deodorant just from really simple ingredients that you can buy. If you want to learn more about some options or some recipes, you can check, there's a bunch online. If you want me to share my recipe with you, I can do that. Just let me know in the comments. But ultimately, deodorants are really not difficult or complicated to make. I make mine using things like some oils at home, so coconut oil, shea butter, a little bit of bicarb, a little bit of arrowroot, some essential oil, and that's pretty much it. It works really well for me. I'm not sensitive to the formula that I use, but some people are sensitive to bicarb, and so you can substitute bicarb for things like bentonite clay, or even just reduce the amount of bicarb that you use. But ultimately, deodorant is one of those sneaky places where chemicals that can disrupt your hormones can actually gain entry into your body, because remember, anything that we apply to our skin is going to be absorbed, it's going to end up in your bloodstream, and it's going to end up affecting your hormone health. So conventional deodorants and antiperspirants I stopped using altogether when I started focusing on my hormone health. Following on from that, speaking about smells and body odor, I stopped using perfume. Now, I used to be a perfume junkie. I used to love buying perfume. There was a time where I worked as a doctor on a cruise ship, and we used to have these really awesome specials that we used to get for our crew discount. I used to purchase lots of perfume, and I loved using perfume because I felt like it was just something that I didn't feel completely dressed if I didn't have a fragrance on it. If you are like me in that respect, I totally understand how difficult it can be to let go of your favorite scent. Like, I get it. I know, I understand. It's hard to do. It was a mindset shift and like a huge behavioral shift for me. So I get it. But ultimately, fragrances and perfumes are one of the most common things in our environment that can disrupt our hormones. And so, in fact, it even goes beyond just using perfume, but that's definitely something that I stopped using altogether is, those colognes and eau de toilettes and that kind of thing. I stopped that altogether. But following on from that, basically any product that I would put on my hair or on my skin, or, any like toiletries or even any skincare products or anything that I'd be using, lotions and that kind of thing, that contained perfume or parfum, or any of the other endocrine disrupting chemicals that I've already mentioned, like phthalates and parabens. I stopped that altogether. And so it's really been a shift when it comes to what can you use, right? So yes, there are a bunch of brands that sell natural scented perfumes, and that have, these products that are actually scented with natural fragrances and essential oils. And I'm definitely more drawn to those brands and those products. But what I actually found is that it's far easier for me to just make the products myself. So following on from making my own deodorants, I would say don't use like any lotions or body butters or creams or anything. I actually make my own body butter, my own body oil, and I use products that I know don't contain endocrine disrupting chemicals to like wash my face and for my face moisturizer and that kind of thing. Simply learning how to make these things on my own has been not only easier, but it's been a lot cheaper as well, because skincare, toiletries, these kinds of things, they cost a lot of money. And if you can learn how to do this on your own, you'll find that you use really simple ingredients, and you can use the same ingredients for a number of different things. Like, for example, makeup remover. I don't use makeup remover at all. I hardly use makeup to begin with, and the makeup that I use is friendly with regards to my hormones. So I stick to brands that don't contain endocrine disrupting chemicals. But even things like makeup remover, I stopped using like micellar water or like any of the conventional, wipes and stuff to remove your makeup. I just use some oil. I use coconut oil or shea butter, maybe with a little bit of essential oil, and I just use that to clean my face. So it really has simplified life, if I'm honest. I have a lot less products to think about, but it really does also save you a lot of money, and it really helps your body to reduce that toxic burden of the onslaught of lots and lots of products that you could potentially be racking up in a day. So I mentioned just now, another thing that I stopped using is conventional makeup, and this is a really touchy subject, I do understand, for a lot of people, especially for people who love using makeup. I started really heavily relying on makeup when I had the bad reaction from my intrauterine device. So I got an IUD placed because, like I said, I didn't want to have a period anymore. And so after it was inserted for a few weeks, I started with this insane acne breakout, like mad acne. I had a little bit of acne as a child, like as a teenager, but this was dramatic. I had bad acne when I had the IUD in place. And as a result, I started getting really self-conscious about it. I knew that the acne was as a result of the hormones that I was, getting into my system from the IUD. But I really became self-conscious and started using lots and lots of makeup to try and conceal my acne. And I'm a picker, so I know I'm not supposed to pick my skin and my pimples and that kind of thing, but I used to pick, so I used to get lots of scarring, and so I used to use lots of makeup. And so that's something I no longer use anymore. And I must say, of course, since, you know, having the IUD removed, since going on this hormone healing journey and trying to do all the things to restore my hormone balance, I have noticed that my skin is clearer now, so it's less important for me to use makeup. But even still, I really opt for as minimal makeup as possible, but also for brands that are clean with regards to how they're made, their ingredients, and I really try to focus on brands that do not contain chemicals and substances that could potentially disrupt my hormones. And this is, like I said, a touchy subject for people who love their makeup. But ultimately, when it comes to our hormone health and when it comes to the things that we may be doing without even realizing that they're affecting our hormone health, this is definitely one of them. And so if you are, you know, a makeup fanatic and you can't see yourself without using makeup, I would encourage you to try to slowly but surely look for options that are going to be less harmful to your hormone health. And you can start by looking for clean beauty options when it comes to your favorite products and try and find alternatives for them. I know this is hard, especially if you spend a lot of money on makeup, and if you're really passionate about, you know, having a full glam, full face, you know. But this is really something to pay attention to, especially if you're having hormonal health issues, and especially if you are having skin health issues that are causing you to actually use makeup to hide that. Then focusing on your gut health and focusing on reducing your exposure to these chemicals is going to be super important. Following on from that, products that I use on my hair, I also switched out and stopped using the conventional products that I found on the shelves, because when I went on my natural hair journey, I was a product junkie, okay? Let's just call a spade a spade. I started using all the products for my natural hair that I thought would help me, you know, learn how to, you know, manage my hair as best as I could. And so as a result, I like started racking up all the products. But when I started my hormone healing journey, one of the things I started doing was reading the labels of the products that I was using every day. So from the deodorants to the toiletries like the lotions to the makeup and including the hair products, when I looked at the labels, I realized that a lot of the products that were for natural hair didn't contain natural ingredients and did contain ingredients that could be potentially disrupting my hormones. So I had switched from using chemical relaxers and straighteners, which are really bad for your hormone health and just your health in general. But when I stopped that, I thought, oh, you know, I'm not using these chemicals anymore. I'm using products and I'm embracing my natural hair, but didn't realize that the products that I was using also contained lots of chemicals that were not necessarily supporting my hormone health. And so looking at your labels is like probably my best tip. I would strongly encourage you to just go through what you have in your cabinet at home, in your bathroom, whatever. Just pull out your products and read the labels and see what's actually in the products that you're using on a daily basis. If you really want a fantastic resource, I'll leave the link down below to the Environmental Working Group's Skin Deep website, which I find an invaluable resource. I use it all the time. Whenever I'm confused about a product or how it's going to affect me and my hormone health, I go to this website, type in the name of the product or what the chemical or whatever it is, the ingredient, to see what is the science, what is the data around this particular ingredient or this particular product, so that you can inform yourself and so that you can make better decisions with regards to, is this something that you do or do not want to continue using. And it's a lot to do. It takes time, I will admit that. But the more aware you are about what is in your products, the more you start to research about the products, the easier it becomes. Because now you'll know, once you've looked at a product once and you know this thing contains products that are not good for me, you're not going to buy the product again. You're going to look for something else and you're going to make a better choice or a different choice next time. And so that's a great resource to have, to just bounce off your ideas or your ingredients list in case you need like professional input into, is this thing good or not. But just as a general rule of thumb, if I pick up a product and it says that it contains parfum or perfume, I'm not going to purchase that product, because I just know that that product most likely contains ingredients and chemicals that are really not good for my hormone health. Speaking about products, cleaning products is another one that is very difficult to review and really to improve upon, especially if you've gotten into a routine of, your favorite, soaps and detergents that you use. But really looking at the ingredients list of the things that you use to clean your home is going to be important to do if you are on a hormone healing journey. And like I said, if you have been diagnosed with anything related to your hormone health, or even if you just struggle with a bad period. And the reason for that is because not only are the chemicals that are contained in certain conventional cleaning products harmful, if they get in contact with your skin, or if you, for example, use a soap and they on your plates, for example, and maybe you didn't rinse the soap off properly, and then you dish your food in there and then eat your food, and maybe some of that product gets into your digestive system. But also the cleaning products that we use around our home can impact the air quality inside our home. And I don't know if you've ever heard that it's actually really shocking how bad our indoor air quality can be. And it's because of things like having a lack of ventilation, so lack of fresh air coming in, and also the fact that we use chemicals and toxic chemicals in our cleaning products often that become airborne and that hang around in our air, and we inhale those. And so indirectly, your cleaning products could actually be having a greater impact on your health than you may have previously considered. So there again, I would encourage you to look for healthier, less toxic, hormone-friendly alternatives. And if you're stuck, just read your labels and do your research. And then if you're really, really stuck and you don't know, what to use instead, I would strongly encourage you, if you feel like the alternatives are too expensive, which they often are, learn how to make your own product. It's going to save you a lot of money and it's going to simplify your life. The next thing that I stopped using when I started my hormone healing journey was air fresheners. Now, I love things that smell good. I am a sucker for fragrances and things that smell great. Give me a scented candle, give me like a reed diffuser, give me a essential oil diffuser. I love all the things that make my environment and me smell good. But when it comes to air fresheners, especially conventional, the toilet sprays that you spray after you've had a poop, or like the air freshener little things that spray out some air freshener every now and then, those conventional air fresheners are often loaded with chemicals that, again, get into the air, you inhale, and could be disrupting your hormones. And so what I do is I make my own toilet spray. I actually make a poo puree, my own version of it. I did find a recipe online and to help to manage odors in the bathroom. I also make my own linen spray. I use essential oils in a diffuser, and I make my own reed diffuser. So there's ways that you can actually get your place to smell good without the risk. And so if you are using these conventional deodorizers or room fresheners or reed diffusers that contain these chemicals, then don't feel like you have to just eliminate them and have nothing and just live in a boring home that doesn't smell good. No, there are options, but again, it does take some research, and it does take a little bit more effort on your part to find an alternative that works for you and that you enjoy as well. The last thing that I stopped using when I started my hormone healing journey is conventional pads, panty liners, tampons, sanitary wear. The conventional ones, I stopped using those. And this had a number of different knock-on effects that I was not expecting. But when I really looked into what is contained inside the period products that I was using, the conventional pads, conventional tampons, it was scary stuff, because I felt like these products are in such close proximity with our reproductive tract that we really should be paying more attention to what is contained in these products. And there was a study that was done. It was reported in an article on the Environmental Working Group's website. I will link the article in the description below as well. But what they found is that over 90% of the products that were tested, the conventional period products tested, contain these chemicals that disrupt our hormones. Just imagine, we have, as menstruators, such a delicate balance of hormones that is required for us to have optimal menstrual health and well-being. And the thing that we need to use every single month, which is these pads and tampons and other period products, could actually be causing the problem with our period health. How, like, that is like, okay, the conspiracy theories can just begin from that point. But ultimately, what it meant to me is that every time I utilized these products, I was potentially exposing myself to more chemicals that could be making my hormone health worse. And so when I stopped using these products, of course, I had to try and find an alternative. This led me down a rabbit hole of figuring out which period product was the best for me. Was it organic pads? Was it reusable pads? Was it organic tampons? Was it a period cup? Was it period panties? Was it a menstrual disc? I recently tried a menstrual disc. Let me know if you want to learn more about what that was like in the comments. But ultimately, the issue is that if you're using conventional sanitary products or conventional period products, is that the burden of toxicity is harmful. And it's something that if you are experiencing period problems, and this is a weird thing to say, but I even found that my period pain level changed when I switched out from conventional period products. And so it is something to consider if you are experiencing period problems, that maybe you should consider changing out your period products for more hormone-friendly alternatives. So fortunately, nowadays there's a variety of products to choose from that you could potentially go to, and I would strongly suggest that if you haven't done this already, it is something that you should consider doing. Maybe you're not ready to jump, to the menstrual cup yet, but certainly switching out your conventional pads for more organic pads that don't contain the phthalates and the parabens. Essentially, phthalates are like plasticizing chemicals. So it's chemicals that are used to generate and make plastic. And so plastic is one of those things that really disrupts our hormone health. And so if you think of the vulval area, sitting on top of those period products for such a long period of time, that's a very absorbent part of your body. And so those chemicals are definitely going to end up in your bloodstream. And so this is something that's a relatively easy one to start doing if you haven't done so already. But certainly it's something that I would encourage everybody to rethink, is the products that you're using every month when it comes to managing your menstrual flow. So I hope that this list of things that I stopped using when I started my hormone healing journey is helpful to you. And I would encourage you to really take a little, a note to yourself and try and think of, if you are really struggling with your period health, and if you have an issue that has been formally diagnosed, or even if you're just having problems in general with a difficult period, consider these things as a starting point to really help you to get the best opportunity or the best shot that you have at improving your menstrual health, because these are really things that we can control and take into our own hands. If you found this video helpful, I would love it if you gave it a like and maybe even share it with somebody who you think it may help. And go ahead and watch this video next, because it's the one that YouTube thinks you should be watching next. Until next time, I'm Dr. Carmen, and it's been awesome hanging out with you. I'll see you in my next video. Ciao.